What to expect at the G7 summit in Canada that Trump and Zelenskyy are set to attend. Israel's attack on Iran has added a new wrinkle to the global picture as G7 leaders gather in Kananaskis for a summit beginning Monday. World leaders are arriving in Canada on Sunday for a Group of 7 summit in the resort town of Kananaskis, Alberta, in the Canadian Rockies. The Group of 7 comprises Canada, the United States, France, Italy, Japan, Germany, and Britain. The European Union is also attending, as well as other heads of state who are not part of the G7 but have been invited by Canadian Prime Minister Carney. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will attend and is expected to meet with his American counterpart Donald Trump, a reunion coming just months after their contentious Oval Office encounter, which laid bare the risks of having a meeting with the U.S. president. Other world leaders will be meeting with Trump both in a group setting and for bilateral talks, which are often precarious as foreign leaders must navigate between placating and confronting him. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum will attend and said she expects to have her first in-person meeting with Trump. Among the other newcomers are German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, a new era of U.S. relations. Ahead of the G7 summit, there are already signs of subtle pushback against Trump from fellow leaders in the group. French President Emmanuel Macron planned to visit Greenland over the weekend in a show of European solidarity. Carney has said the U.S. is no longer the predominant force in the world after Trump's tariffs created fissures in a decades-long partnership between the U.S. and its northern neighbor. We stood shoulder to shoulder with the Americans throughout the Cold War and in the decades that followed, as the United States played a predominant role on the world stage, Carney said this past week in French. Today, that predominance is a thing of the past. The new prime minister added that with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the U.S. became the global hegemon, a position of authority undermined by Trump's transactional nature that puts little emphasis on defending democratic values or the rule of law. Now the United States is beginning to monetize its hegemony, charging for access to its markets and reducing its relative contributions to our collective security, Carney said. Israel's attacks on Iran has added a new wrinkle to the global picture and will likely dominate discussions during the summit. Other topics will likely include Trump's looming tariffs and the war in Ukraine. Italy's Meloni has positioned herself as a bridge between the Trump administration and the rest of Europe. But Italy's strong support of Ukraine and Trump's threatened tariffs on European goods have put Meloni, the only European leader to attend Trump's inauguration, in a difficult position. But even as other G7 leaders diffuse any public disputes with Trump, the U.S. president's vision for the world remains largely incompatible with what they want. Like and subscribe for more. Thanks!